It's the early evening of July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania. The temperature is sweltering as tens of thousands crowd into the local farm show grounds. This is a blue-collar town in a state that carries heavy mathematical weight in the upcoming presidential election. Former President Donald Trump takes the stage. It's just days before he is scheduled to formally accept the Republican nomination. Around him, the standard, rigorous protective bubble is in place, complete with Secret Service snipers perched on nearby roofs, actively scanning the perimeter for threats. Then, at exactly 6:11 p.m., that heavily secured perimeter fractures. In broad daylight, an armed gunman opens fire on the rally. Millions watched the chaotic footage unfold live on their screens. But the sheer panic of the crowd and the shaky cell phone videos obscure exactly how close this breach came to a fatal outcome. To accurately map this massive security failure, we need to step back from the social media noise. We have to forensically reconstruct the exact 75 seconds that followed the very first shot. This map lays out the exact physical geometry of the Butler Farm showgrounds at T-0. The most glaring vulnerability is an unsecured roof exactly 400 feet away. Lying prone at the end of that direct sightline is 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks, armed with a semi-automatic weapon. The weapon he brought to the perimeter is an AR-15 style rifle. It's a highly lethal platform specifically designed to discharge multiple rounds with rapid precision. The clock starts. Crooks squeezes the trigger, firing an initial volley of 3 rapid shots. At that exact microsecond, Trump turns his head to the right to read a chart tracking border crossings. That coincidental head turn shifts his skull just enough to avoid a direct fatal impact. Instead, the first bullet pierces the upper part of his right ear, and he instantly drops down behind the podium. Within 3 to 4 seconds of that first crack, the Secret Service protective detail reacts. Agents rush the stage from the periphery, collapsing onto the former president to form a human shield over his body. The margin between a successful assassination and an injury was dictated entirely by a 4-second window, a fraction of an inch in head movement, followed immediately by tactical swarming. Crooks doesn't stop. He immediately opens fire again, sending 5 additional rounds directly toward the stage and into the packed crowd behind it. Those bullets hit spectators sitting in the bleachers. 2 people are critically injured, and a 50-year-old man named Corey Compratore is killed in the crossfire. By now, Secret Service snipers positioned on the rooftops behind the stage have detected the threat. They lock onto the gunman and prepare to return fire. This timeline charts the hot mic audio captured from the podium over the next 38 seconds. You can hear the tense communication between the agents on top of the president, checking their status, asking, "Are we good to move?" and calling out, "We're clear." At exactly 42 seconds, they confirm the counterstrike, shooters down. But the evacuation isn't instantaneous. A tense delay follows as agents struggle to get a bleeding Trump to his feet and retrieve his shoes before moving him to the armored vehicle. Then, at exactly the 75-second mark, the sequence hits its climax. Trump physically halts his protective detail. He stands tall, raises his fist in the air, and mouths the words, "Fight, fight, fight." That specific pause in a high-speed evacuation created a window for the resulting image of defiance, a photo that traveled the world and quickly became a central piece of his re-election campaign. The immediate physical threat was neutralized on that rooftop, but in its place, a massive investigative vacuum opened up almost instantly. Detectives face a contradictory profile of the shooter. Court records show a registered Republican, yet he donated to a liberal group. Physical evidence complicates this. He had no criminal history, but investigators found explosive devices in his vehicle and home. Beyond the shooter's motive, there is a glaring systemic question. How did local and federal law enforcement allow a clear line of sight from a rooftop just 400 feet away to remain completely unguarded? While global leaders immediately condemned the violence, the definitive answers to how this perimeter failed and why Crooks pulled the trigger remain tied up in an ongoing federal investigation. We can map the forensic timeline of those 75 seconds down to the precise frame. But while the investigation into the security failure continues, the imagery captured in that window has already become a permanent fixture of this election.